The episode begins with 19-year-old Esty Shapiro, a very orthodox Jewish married woman, packing her things after contemplating a lot. She packs only a handful of things before fleeing her home in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. She swiftly makes her way to her music teacher and friend Vivian, who has her passport and tickets ready, and after a teary goodbye, Esty leaves for the airport. She takes a plane to Berlin, where her estranged mother lives. Esty's husband, Esty Shapiro, returns home after Esty doesn't show up for the family lunch, only to find her gone. The next day, he tells his family that Esty has left, which displeases his mother as usual because she thinks of Esty as a menace, especially because Esty couldn't bear a child even after a year of marriage. A family meeting is arranged, and it is decided that Yanki's cousin, Moishe, will be sent along with Yanki to find Esty and bring her back. Esty reaches Berlin, glad she is finally free, and reaches her mother's address. But when nobody opens the door after she buzzes a few times, she decides to wait for her. A few moments later, Esty spots her mother outside waiting for someone. Esty approaches her but stops when she sees her mother kiss a woman. Esty immediately leaves and goes to a cafe where she meets Robert, who helps her with her order. She notices he has many coffee orders and offers to help by carrying them to his friends. They reach the nearby Conservatory of Music, where he and his friends are students. After thanking her for her help, Robert leaves with his friends as they have a rehearsal, and Esty sneaks into the auditorium to see them rehearse. Hearing them perform has such a profound impact on Esty that she is moved to tears. She tells Robert how great their performance was, and as the friends leave to visit the lake, she asks Robert if she can join them. Robert agrees and she tags along. Once at the lake, the girls quickly remove their clothing and run to cool off in the water while Esty stands back, watching everybody play. When one of the girls, Dacia, returns, she coaxes Esty to enjoy herself, and as if Esty got the validation she was looking for, she removes her shirt, which reveals another shirt and stockings, and walks towards the water. Comfortable at the fact that her stockings will remain dry, she enters the water still fully clothed, and as the cold water touches her, she feels she is finally liberated, and that gives her the strength to remove her shadel, revealing her hair. She immerses herself in water and floats for a long time, living in the moment. At night, she doesn't have any place to stay, so she follows Dacia to the music conservatory, and after everybody leaves, she sits at the piano for a long time without playing it. Back in Williamsburg, Yanki and Moishe are frantically searching for Esty. After finding Esty's musical notes in her bedroom at her maternal home, they barge into Vivian's house, threatening to cancel her lease if she doesn't tell them where Esty is. Vivian gives in and tells them that Esty has left for Germany. Yanki is confused about why Esty would go to Germany and decides to check Esty's phone. He finds an unheard voicemail and asks Moishe to hear it because he is too scared. The voicemail is from a hospital, confirming an appointment for an ultrasound, indicating Esty is pregnant. In a flashback, Esty is preparing to get married to Yanki when her mother, Leah, visits her. She gives her documents proving her right to German citizenship in case she ever needs somewhere else to go. However, Esty is very dismissive of her mother because Leah left her and her family a long time ago. Esty goes ahead and marries Yanki, but now, in the present, she has run away from him to Germany, and with no place to go, she sleeps on the floor in the utility room in the conservatory. The next day, Esty is discovered sleeping in the utility room by a cleaner, who reports it to a teacher passing by. Esty follows them and apologizes for sleeping in the prohibited area. As she starts to leave, the teacher, Karim, stops her and asks her to follow him. He takes her to a cafe and treats her to a sandwich. Esty has never had ham before, but when she doesn't get sick as she thought she would, she starts questioning all the other lies they were taught in her community. She shows her interest in learning music and tells him she plays piano. Noticing her restrictive mindset, Karim tells her that sometimes They must break many rules to create a masterpiece. Esty wants to learn but shows her incompetence in paying the fees, but Kareem tells her about a special program in the conservatory for students from difficult circumstances. Esty's eyes suddenly sparkle with hope, and she asks about the requirements. Kareem tells her that she must fill out an application form and audition before a panel of experts. Meanwhile, Yankee and Moishe land in Berlin, and while riding to their hotel, Moishe brings out a smartphone, which they are not allowed to use back home, and Yankee doesn't understand how it works. So when he tells Moishe to ask the internet to find Esty, Moishe laughs at Yankee's innocence. They stay at a hotel, and Moishe receives a package he had asked for from the reception. Once in their rooms, Moishe goes out to talk on his phone while Yankee secretly opens the package after curiosity gets the best of him. Upon discovering a gun in the package, Yankee is too terrified to even speculate about Moishe's intentions. They later visit Leia's address, wearing an American disguise on their heads, and confront her, but she is equally surprised to know that Esty is in Berlin after running away from home. Meanwhile, Esty applies for the special training program, and Kareem invites her to see the rehearsal. As she reaches the entrance of the rehearsal hall, she finds one of Robert's friends, Yael, condescendingly talking about her while explaining that Esty is an ultra-orthodox Jewish, where the women's role is restricted to giving birth. Esty steps in confidently and says she is not a baby-producing machine. Before the conversation could escalate, Kareem walks in and introduces Esty to the class. He asks her to take a seat so she can see the rehearsal. After the rehearsal, Esty talks to Dacia and praises her skills, but Dacia is not feeling herself because of the immense pressure of becoming a musician and making her family proud. Esty tries to cheer her up, which helps Dacia relax. Happy that she has found a new friend, Dacia invites Esty to her dorm room for a dinner party later. Esty visits her dorm in the evening and finds Robert and the others there. She helps with a salad while answering their questions about her life and why she came to Berlin. After they're done with dinner, the friends encourage Esty to play the piano, and when she does, Yael says she'll never be able to make it to the conservatory because she still has a long way to go. Others try to stop her, but Yael doesn't stop and says that she is being honest with Esty. Esty leaves abruptly with tears in her eyes. She is heartbroken after hearing such harsh criticism because she left everything to pursue music, and now she's told she'll never catch up to their level. Esty finds a phone booth nearby and calls home for the first time since she left, but her heart breaks even more when her grandma disconnects the phone without saying a word. In a flashback, we see it is Esty's first night with Yankee. His strong carnal desires make him directly put the bread in the oven without letting the oven preheat. As a result, Esty stops him because it hurts and asks him to be patient. However, the next day, Esty is baffled when her mother-in-law visits her because Yankee called his mother and told her their bedroom tales and the problem they're facing. So to make things easier, she has bought lube for Esty and tells Esty to make Yankee feel like a king in bed before he loses his confidence. At present, Esty washes herself in the dorm washroom before changing clothes and sneaking out the window. She then visits the conservatory to withdraw her name from the audition, but the administration staff chides her for not appreciating the chance she got, which not many students get. Meanwhile, Leia finds an invitation to audition delivered to her address, as Esty had written Leia's address on her application. Later that day, Esty goes to the hospital for her checkup, and she gets to hear her unborn baby's heartbeat for the first time. She starts thinking about the future and decides to look for jobs in Berlin. After searching the internet with no luck, she turns to the streets and reads the posters stuck on the poles. One of the poles has a poster that states singers wanted for the church choir, and Esty decides to check it out. She enters the church and listens to the choir practicing, but soon leaves. In the meantime, Yankee and Moishe visit the graves of the great rabbis, and after that, Moishe takes Yankee to his friend, who owns a strip club. Against his wishes, Yankee is sent with a girl, but he refuses to touch her. However, he is curious and wants to know what women like, so she gives him a crash course on how to properly preheat the oven. Just a few months after Yankee and Esty's wedding, family members began targeting Esty because they hadn't consummated their marriage. Esty seeks medical advice and is diagnosed with vaginismus. The practitioner provided her with tools to help her get pregnant, as bearing a child is seen as the greatest blessing, granting a woman more leverage within her marriage. Esty is exasperated because all Yankee wants to do is procreate as they are taught, and with the constant interference of the women in his family, Esty feels as if Yankee brings his entire family to bed with him every night. After a heated argument, Esty decides to get it over with. After she endures intense pain for 10 seconds, Yankee withdraws, elated by his perceived accomplishment. For Esty, that fleeting episode is enough to remind her of the aimless life she is leading. In the present, Esty goes back to the conservatory and asks Robert if he'll help her with her audition. She has a plan, and while she prints music sheets, Dacia meets her and invites her to a club where Yael will be performing that night. They soon leave the conservatory for shopping. Unbeknownst to Esty, Moishe is following them. He learned about their location after he broke into Leia's apartment and found the audition invitation with the conservatory's address written on it. Later that evening, all the friends go to the club, and Moishe follows them there. He clicks some pictures of Esty with Robert before the two disappear into the crowd. Seeing the people her age enjoying life without worries or restrictions makes Esty give in to her desires, and she agrees to leave with Robert. They go to his dorm room where Esty kisses him, and they let their feelings take over. That night, Esty experiences for the first time what it really feels like to have her oven preheated and cooking. In a flashback, we see Esty feeling unwell at a family dinner. She excuses herself and rushes back home with a pregnancy kit to confirm her suspicions. As she anticipates, the pregnancy test comes out positive. Tears of happiness fills Esty's eyes as she waits for Yankee to return, eager to share the good news with him. However, when Yankee returns, he doesn't let Esty speak. In a fit of rage, he declares he wants a divorce because his mother believes Esty will never be a good wife, mainly due to their intimacy issues. Having been intimate just once, Yankee blames Esty, convinced the problem is with her. Esty is stunned, unable to grasp how Yankee doesn't have an opinion of his own and lets his mother dictate his life. Furious, she leaves the house, wondering what her next move should be. Back in the present, Esty wakes up beside Robert and quickly makes her way out. After breakfast, Robert takes her to a friend who will help Esty with her audition. Meanwhile, Moishe returns to the hotel after staying out the entire night and tells Yankee that he found Esty. He shows him the pictures, which makes him run to Leia's place and shout at her for lying that Esty is not there. He breaks down and tells her that Esty is pregnant and he has to take her back. After practice, Esty goes shopping and picks out a red lipstick, similar to the one someone lent her the day before at the club. While returning, she spots Moishe staring at her, and as she tries to run, he forcibly pushes her into a van. He takes her to a park and makes her sit on a bench. He tries to persuade her to come back and tells her that she doesn't have a choice, as she'll starve on the streets with no means to earn. When Esty doesn't budge, he takes his gun and places it beside her. He looks at Esty, who is visibly shaken, and says he is not going to shoot her. She will do it herself. What a godly man. He soon leaves, and feeling scared, Esty decides to go with her mom. When she finally meets her, she breaks down. Esty is still mad at her for abandoning her when she was 3, but then Leia tells Esty that she was taken away from Leia. She narrates how living with a drunkard like Esty's father was a nightmare for her, and after she had Esty, she had a friend find an apartment and she soon moved there with Esty. But when the rabbi came to know, he sent men to her house to threaten her, and soon Leia was dragged to the court. where she lost Esty's custody. Now that she has Esty back, Leia promises to take care of her and her child. Esty stays with her mother that night, and the next morning, Leia lends Esty one of her dresses and sees her off. She promises to be there at her audition. Esty reaches the conservatory for her audition, and so do her friends who have come to support her. But they are in for a surprise because Esty switched her discipline from piano to singing. Robert, however, knew about it because, of course, he does, and he had been helping her practice with his friend. After she is done singing On die Musik by Schubert, the judges ask her why she chose the song. She tells them that it was her grandmother's favorite song, and also that the community she comes from doesn't allow women to sing. The judges feel she has potential and asks her to sing another song. Esty sings a Yiddish song, which moves them to tears, and Yankee, who has reached the auditorium, also has tears in his eyes when he hears Esty sing. After the audition, Esty meets her friends and introduces them to her mother. She's surprised to see Yankee there and goes to talk to him. They go on a walk and finally chat without anybody's interference. Yankee begs Esty to come back with him and apologizes for being rude in the past. He promises to change and even cuts off his payout, but Esty refuses to go back. She leaves in tears, leaving her past behind. And as she wipes off the tears, she sees Berlin in a new hue, and it fills her with hope. A hope for a new tomorrow without any restrictions in an Orthodox abode. And that's a wrap for this series recap. Thanks for watching.